when we first started this, we had the paraeducators who were going to be residents, right? And so the first year was rough for us because one of the things we learned the first year is the program forced them to either give up their jobs to do the program. And these were people who had families, these were people who were relying on the paraeducator job or any other job across the district or other districts. So they're like, well, I want to be a teacher, but I just can't afford to give up a year of my current role to do that. So that's the beginning of where we said, how could we structure it differently? So that the second year, I think, is the first time we did that, where I think Britton and I had a conversation, and I took it to cabinet and said, hey, what if we paid them as a paraeducator while they are in the residency program? And we allowed them to keep their salary as a paraeducator. We allowed them to keep health and welfare benefits, because what we heard was it wasn't necessarily always about the salary, it was also about health and welfare benefits. So we took a proposal to cabinet and saying, what if we hired them as a paraeducator? And this was not just like any other, it was a special kind of a gig. We didn't want to create a separate job description because that has other implications. But we said we have a paraeducator job description. Most of the people who we had identified to be part of the residency were already paraeducators in our district. So let's keep them there. And I think that's the beginning of how we said, we have to figure out how to keep them employed and have them still earn some money, also remain as with health and welfare benefits while they go through the program. So that's how it started. It's actually been very beneficial for us because it's also helped us retain and sustain them. They already are with us, they know our program, right? They become teachers with them. It's fascinating how many of them are now teaching at the same school they were paras. Like they've known the community. The model has actually reaped way more benefits than just them becoming teachers for us. But that's how kind of it began.
I am Brittany Arnagrone. I'm the assistant dean and assistant professor at the University of the Pacific Benard College. So I'm the IHE partner.
I'm Natalie Orsak-Neff, and I'm a program specialist with Elk Grove Unified School District. I work in a unique role of where I work with the special ed department, also human resources, and I coordinate the REACH residency for the district.
So it's a one-year program where they get their master's, their mild mod support needs credential, and their extensive support need credential. And during that time, they are placed with mentor teachers within Elk Grove Unified School District, where they are in the mild mod setting and the ESN setting at the same time. And then
they work as paraeducators for the district, so they're paid as a paraeducator. And they're getting full benefits in addition to their state residency stipend. So really, as the cohorts have gone along, we have been able to recruit really the best of the best in Elk Grove. And so it's a huge district, so we are leveraging our most effective teachers, and because we have built that reputation, we're getting ready to go into the 7th cohort. I just found out yesterday from one of our mentors, he came up to me and he goes, are you still going to consider me to potentially mentor for REACH again next year? And I said, of course, yeah, go ahead and apply. And so we have created this momentum, and they believe in this program, and they believe in coaching up these new teachers so much that, to me, that demonstrated significant success for our program.
So we have 10 bargaining units. One of the things we thought about in this situation is that it impacted 2 of them, CSEA, because most of them were paras, and we were going to hire them into a para job even if they were not. So CSEA represents paraeducators. And then the other one is EGA, which is our teachers union, because we were going to place another person in a teacher's classroom, which was above and beyond their current para allocation.
Do they spend half a day as a paraeducator, or they're always a paraeducator and a resident?
Correct.
Always.
So then so the challenge we've had with mentor teachers is that the duties of a paraeducator are very different than the duties of a resident, right? Because a paraeducator is more like an instructional assistant, and they are not necessarily, well, paraeducators, they're not designing curriculum, they're not necessarily doing assessments, like all of the things that we want our residents to come out of the program having. And so then how do you navigate that space where to the mentor there should be a lot of co-teaching, but paraeducators are not necessarily doing co-teaching, like sometimes they're just supporting?
So I think that's where recruitment of your highly qualified mentors comes into play, and the understanding and the expectations for that resident. And you're really creating this whole group that is championing for this one resident. And so one of the things I feel like is that we cannot give up moving forward is that mentor PLC that happens monthly, just so they are on track. University of Pacific did a great job of creating a gradual release of responsibility. We talk about that. That's the structure of that monthly mentor meeting. We talk exactly what that should look like and sound like, and then from there, create a checklist that they can take into the classroom.
The paraeducator position they're in is to ensure they have a payment and health and welfare benefits.
So this seems really appropriate for a special ed context where there's often paraeducators. Could you envision this happening in, say, an upper grade bilingual classroom where there is not necessarily budgeting for a paraeducator in a district?
We are unique, I'll tell you why. We have a large, right, we have 63,000 kids, right? So we have some flexibility. I think it's a little more difficult in a smaller setting. However, the way cabinet, we looked at it from a cabinet perspective, it's worth the investment because two things that were really critical for us in cabinet. One, we now have a pipeline of teachers. So if you don't do this, we will continue to have classrooms without credentialed folks. That's the reality of this. So yes, is this worth $50,000, $60,000 investment? Yes, that's what we do for our people. These are our people, right? So that was important to us. The other piece that was really important is there's nobody better to train these people than the mentor teachers who are highly qualified, and we choose them. If we didn't have this program, we would literally, let's be honest, have 30 unfilled special ed classrooms. And these are also people who take some of our most challenging classrooms. So we were going to hear it from the communities somewhere or the other. So we in cabinet made the decision to invest in this.
So then maybe could you share a little bit about how, like you said, it's a fluid role. Like what works well about that fluidity and what's hard, or what structures need to exist to like make that fluidity successful?
So right now we're operating on pretty much dedicated para-FTE as part of our teacher residency. We're going to explore next year with our pilot pipeline, do we really need to have that dedicated FTE? Because that is a big cost. Or can we have them fill existing para vacancies? So we're gonna learn a lot this pilot year.
If they are just paras, we miss out on all the other things you need to learn as to be a teacher in a year, right? So that's why the model is that they are beyond it. And CSEA has that understanding. Like when we say reach para, in all of our brains, we're not talking about a typical para. We're talking about a very specialized group of people who are there for about a year, and they will all become teachers. So they have an interest in this.
I'd love to hear about the gradual release structure that you set up to support this very unique and complex role.
It's a very intense document. It's many, many pages. It basically breaks it down. Like for when they first start, it's 0% instruction, 100% like watching. Yeah. And then it goes to 10 to 90. 10%, you should be looking at IEPs during your break time. You should be working with one student. You should be, I'm trying to think of some of the other things that we do, behavior management of your table that you're at, and then slowly 20, 80, 70, 30, and it breaks it down each, like, and it's timelined as well. So it's like in October, you should be doing this. In November, you should be doing this. Because we have learned that if you don't have that, you have some mentors that are like, oh, they've been in my classroom for 2 years. They are phenomenal. Here's 100% of the classroom. You go. And we're like, whoa, that's not what we want. Yeah. Or you have ones that are so controlling, I guess is the nicest word, of their classroom. They don't want to give up any responsibilities. So the mentor is just sitting there and observing, and then it's October and they're still observing, and November. And so we kind of needed a document to be like, this is where they should be at. And if they're not here, then we need to get involved to provide that mentee more support, or that resident, different resources to help them get to that percentage that we are looking for.
Some of the classes are taught by us. There's value in that. This has been a highly successful program for us. And Natalie and Brittany are the two people who should get a lot of credit for it.